We haven't done this in a while.
Nope.
It's exciting.
When's the last time? A few months ago?
Pre-summer.
Couple months?
Pre-summer.
He and I did the last
With Tone? With Tony?
Yeah. That was the last one we did. That was still... What month are we in? September?
We're in September. Was that August? Early August?
Bro, that was late July.
Wow.
Was it July?
Like July. Well, on that note, you thought we were gone, but we're back. It's the second half crew. Welcome back to the second half. Welcome back, everybody. It's
Welcome back.
Wow, you got to be old to know that one.
You gotta be old.
Welcome back.
That's on it for another day.
That's right. We are back here, second half crew. We're live. We've got a great guest today, which I'm very proud to have. I've been trying to get him on for better part of the preschool year. Before we introduce our esteemed guests, let's just do around the horn with who's here again. It's your boy Launchpad, and with me is
Peaches.
Peaches.
Nice.
Wow,
that's it. You're not gonna see your catchphrase?
No. Are you on your socials right now?
Dude, we're on the comeback. You're not gonna see your catchphrase?
Organic and creamy.
That was like a build-up.
He set me up.
Well,
He did.
you guys kept.
He knew you wanted it.
I did not want it.
I always want it. Organic and creamy.
Organic and creamy.
Moving on. It's your boy Rye Boogie.
The bird dog.
Bird dog in the house.
Don't forget the.
Of course, we got the crew here as well represented, and let's just jump right in. I am thrilled, pleased to introduce our guest this week, this fine Friday, hailing from the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm going to go into a long intro here. Hailing from the San Francisco Bay Area via Danville. He is a Bay Area native, went to school, I guess it's the extended Bay Area, UC Davis, before jumping across the coast to Brandeis University, where he studied musical composition, where he cut his teeth in his early career, actually. And then after that, started cooking after grad school out on the East Coast, out in Boston. We'll dive into a little bit of your culinary experience out on the East Coast before jumping into your cooking experience, your chef experience here in the city, working at a number of renowned San Francisco restaurants, which include Mission Bowling, Bar Tartine, Bar Agricole, just to name a few. And then breaking out on his own to start his own business, his own pop-up, Astranda Bakery, in right at the height of the pandemic, actually. We have Eric Chow with us here today. Eric!
Hello. Great to be with you guys.
Thanks for coming on, man. We're trying to get you as part of a duo guest, but thankfully we just got you solo, so we can dive in. How's it feel to be here today?
Feels great.
Dude.
First podcast.
First podcast.
Well,
Cheers,
welcome.
man.
You're welcome. Organic and creamy.
Organic and
creamy.
That's the new catchphrase.
Eric, thank you once again for representing the hood. Take a shot of that shirt.
That's
no problem,
right. Representing the Excelsior by way of Pacifica now,
Yeah.
right? Well, let's dive in, man. Let's talk a little bit about. We definitely want to highlight you kind of what you've done with Astranda Bakery, kind of running your own business. But I think let's start from the beginning. Maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your roots. Where you grew up. How you got into maybe music first, because I don't think you started off necessarily on the cooking trail.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe give us a little background on your roots.
Yeah, and didn't really have like that whole thing where like didn't ever want to be a chef growing up. Watched the Little Food Network with my mom. That was when it was coming up. But yeah, born and raised in San Francisco until I was about 10. Moved across the bay to Danville, middle school and high school there. So yeah, after that, music school, UC Davis, and then to Brandeis, like you said.
And you mentioned, I think you told me that you were taking instruments or getting some musical exposure as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Going to Davis, like, did you have a sense of what you wanted to do from a musical career perspective?
It's funny because I didn't start with that. I did band and I did chorus for a year. I started out thinking that I wanted to maybe be a coach because I got really into running in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Like not really more until my senior year. I was kind of like aimless a little bit, but I thought maybe I want to be a coach. And I love the camaraderie. I love like helping people get their goals. Maybe I want to be a teacher and be a coach, be the same. Obviously made a huge impression on me in high school. So I started Davis as exercise bio, wanting to start with that. And all my science and math bureaus just fucking failed all of them. Like winter quarter, that was like the worst quarter of my whole life. Just the worst. I didn't have the focus of the discipline. I never was a great student. Just the focus, man. Could never sit down and just, bang out studying for tests or
was
all
it
that stuff.
focus or was it just kind of finding your passion too? Yes.
Probably both. Yeah. But switched to music my second year and just took off from there. So yeah, it was where I was meant to be, at least for a little while. And
your focus was on musical composition, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of composition? Like talk a little bit about kind of that area.
Yeah, I don't know what drove me to that. Just I guess the creative aspect of it. I'd never been creative with anything before that, but just the idea of being able to do whatever you wanted, create your own sound world or whatever, made it so much more than just school, right? Like, played clarinet for years since 4th grade. Like, my dad started my sister off on that, and you're always playing someone else's music, whether it's band or orchestra. I started doing orchestra up in Davis too, but you can make your own. Just the idea of making your own thing and finding your own voice was really appealing to me at the time.
And then how was the transition going from here, kind of Bay Area, then jumping out to the East Coast, Boston, Brandeis? What was that like?
It was fun. Yeah. I guess the biggest change was just not having that support network. Being up in Davis, we're still really close to family, close to friends. Out in Boston, we didn't really know anyone. We knew a few people from Davis who had moved out there for music school because there's like a million colleges out there. Mm-hmm. So that was great to reconnect with some friends that we hadn't seen in a while. Once we moved out there, we love the seasons, we love the weather, we love the snow. It was fun.
Yeah, you get the full seasons out there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're saying we, so we should I'd be remiss to mention maybe our shared background. We're dads at our kids' preschool. Mm-hmm. Shout out Village Nursery School. But you're saying we because this is you and your wife, mm-hmm. Who you were engaged with just after Davis or while you were there?
Yeah, just after Davis.
That's right. So then you guys moved out and you were together living out in Brandeis.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
We gotta pause just one moment. That's the first time ever in podcast history a preschool has ever been shouted out.
Preschool shout out.
Yeah. Shout out Village Nursery.
The last time.
First and last?
First and last.
Definitely the last time, unless any of us.
No.
Yeah.
No, when you have Anthony on.
Oh, actually, we are going to have another guest from Village Nursery. So
we're doing the nursery circuit. Right
we're doing the nursery, yeah. Eric is a trailblazer for the nursery circuit right now.
What's your ethnic background?
Chinese.
And I asked this because when you went to Davis and switched over to music, I wonder what that was like at home, breaking that to the parents.
It's funny because my dad was he's the one who got us into music. He played clarinet. He still plays.
Oh.
I stopped after college, but he got us into it and they were fine with it. It's kind of funny. My mom had some reservations. She was like, "Do you want to double major in English?" But English is not a great major either, unless you want to be a teacher.
What is your mom's background? What did she do?
She worked for PG&E pretty much her whole life.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were you born here?
Mm-hmm. San Francisco.
Not your parents.
My mom was born in Cleveland.
Oh. Okay.
And my dad was born in Hong Kong.
Okay.
But he came over when he was 6. So.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That might play into it.
Definitely plays into it, right? Because I find our oldest daughter, she's 14. She just told us she wants to be a chef. And I was like, well, you knew.
Never talk to me. Do it. Unless you really
We'll
love
call
it.
Uncle Eric.
Yeah, I'll talk her out of it.
Let's chat. No. You know what you do? You get her to intern. You have her do a lot of the prep work.
Yeah.
Right?
Just like
Yeah.
the bear.
Just like the bear.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to it later. When I started off, doing the most basic work, peeling onions for like 8 hours. If you still like it after that, after like 2 weeks, maybe you do want to do it. But seriously, I'll talk to her
Oh yeah.
if she wants to.
Go to the chef.
Does she want to go to culinary school?
That's her interest right now. I mean, she's 14, so who knows what it'll be next week.
Yeah, that's super young, of course.
But she's actually really always had an interest in cooking, baking in particular.
Okay, I was gonna say cooking,
Yeah.
baking. Like this, she likes baking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She watches me cook all the time, so she kind of gets into it that way. But definitely baking. So I didn't tell her who Eric was, but she probably, if I had told her, she probably would have told me.
Yeah,
That could be
she
a
can,
nice.
she can shout at me anytime.
We got that. Can you sound him saying?
That could be a good
Same.
experience, though.
Definitely.
Right?
When I feel like when an expert at something gives you time, you shouldn't turn it down ever.
I don't know if I'm an expert. But,
Oh, yeah.
You know.
I guess in present company, you're an expert.
You are definitely an
Yeah.
expert.
You're the expert.
No,
Obviously.
to be clear, I do love what I do, but it can be really hard. So she should just know what she's going into.
But the key there is you love what you do, and that's half the battle.
Totally.
Right. So.
Well, on that note, then, did you always enjoy cooking or baking as a kid, even at age 14, or is that something you stumbled into later in life?
Someone to later. Yeah, I guess I was like eating, but it wasn't until my college roommate's second year of college when he's the one. And I lost touch with him a long time ago. It'd be really funny to him, I'm sure, if you ever heard what I was doing now. But like, I feel like his cooking was the first real cooking I ever had. I mean, don't get me wrong, my parents, had some good food too. But like, we grew up going to like mid-price chain restaurants like Chevy's, Chili's,
Shout out Chevy.
Sizzlers, yeah.
R.I.P.
Shout out to
Torito and Bel Air.
R.I.P. Chevy's.
Definitely
Shout out Sizzlers Buffet.
Oh, Sizzlers Buffet.
Yo, we had this taco for today.
Sizzlers Buffet was
Taco.
that was like the treat as
Oh
a
my
kid.
god, as a kid.
Which
All
one?
you can eat
Which
mac
one?
and cheese.
Ceremony, the ceremony one.
No, I don't even remember which one we went
Mine
to.
was Colma.
Yeah.
No, there's another one in the city too.
No, there wasn't.
I don't remember going to one in the city.
Oh no. Okay.
Just
Colma,
just
just Colma.
City,
It is in Colma.
Taco bar and chicken wings.
Oh, you
can eat shrimp. The taco bar and the chicken wings.
Yeah, no.
So the culinary experience or the cuisine wasn't necessarily what you were exposed to. You were saying as a kid within your family necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, like, we never went to like any fancy restaurants. I mean, fancy for us was like House of Prime Rib, which is, of course, still one of the greats.
Still
One of the best restaurants ever in the whole world.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a big night for us.
The whole
But-
world.
All of it.
The whole world. But yeah, my college roommate he was Danish, grew up in Kansas. He made like Danish pork and beef meatballs for me. He made like bolognese. It's the first time I ever had bolognese sauce, like beef and pork cooked down for like 4+ hours. I never had anything like it. And I still imagine like perfect small dice, carrots and onions and celery, like just.
And you
It
say
was amazing.
he made it just for you. So this is like you guys are, studying for finals or whatnot, or a normal school week, and he's just whipping up some home cooking.
He was, I mean, I was pretty undisciplined still, and still in a lot of ways. He was like, so straight-laced, so disciplined, had his life like organized, figured out. Someone I would still look up to today. Like, he had a plan. He was an engineering major. I'm sure he got perfect grades all the time. And yeah, he was a cook.
Interesting. So yeah, I guess he would appreciate that. Kind of where your career trajectory.
He inspired you.
Yeah.
It's great.
Not in that sense. Not to get me like into cooking as much, but like, oh wow, this is what food can be. This is crazy.
It opened up your eyes.
Yeah.
Definitely your palate.
Your palate, yeah.
Totally.
I
Yeah.
think the best thing these guys will ever cook for me is probably a cheese quesadilla.
But the best cheese quesadilla you ever had?
No.
Oh, yes.
No.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
What about those tombstone pizzas?
The
that I
tombstone
used to,
pizzas, bro.
You can't even take credit for making a tombstone. Like, you're heating it up, right?
Hey, he made the juice though. The frozen Minute Maid cans.
Yeah.
He put the right amount of water.
You know what he did? There was a lot of effort into it because he didn't have
Does that help?
he didn't have a blender or a mixer.
No,
so it was a
no,
wooden
elbow-
spoon, right? A wooden
elbow-
spoon.
Wooden spoon in the
Yeah.
Vino juice. Yes. don't knock the frozen Vino juice. These guys used to come over to the house. Anyways, we're here to talk about my cooking experience. So when's the point at which kind of that appreciation for finding, new ingredients or different types of prepared meals? When did that then transition into you, I guess, getting into the kitchen it was on the East Coast then, yeah?
Yeah. I think first it was discovering what restaurants could be. I think it was finding a Bon Appetit at my mom's house after college. Though the restaurant issue, September, I still get it almost every year because that was what showed me, like, oh wow, these people are really saying something really personal with everything that they do, the kind of place they have, when it's big or small. Of course, the small places really, appealed to me. Just how you could still be so involved, and it's not just like you're a madhouse getting people in and out. Like you can really have control of the menu and what you want to say, what you want to cook, instead of being. I mean, I'm sure a lot of them are like really beholden to investors still, but just discovering that after growing up going to chain restaurants.
And then you started working for restaurants out on the East Coast while you were at grad school?
Yeah, that's funny because I forget about it too sometimes, but my second year, my first food job technically in the kitchen was working at the dining hall at Brandeis, which was, looking back now, it was disgusting. but
You're prepping for all the students in the mess hall, basically, right?
And my colleagues too, were the other grads, was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, there's so many other jobs you can be doing that pay more. But, I'm like working alongside undergrads and foreign graduate students who don't have great English, and that's the only job they can have. And it was exciting to me though, because I liked working with my hands and being around food. So, yeah, and something I could get without any experience. What really changed though was when I was out in Boston one night going to a concert, and I was having dinner at this French restaurant because I saw they had like a happy hour special because I was still like a cheap ass grad student. On the way to the bathroom, like I was walking by the kitchen, which is open, and it just like took a second to admire all the cookbooks, and the sous chef started chatting with me. He's like, hey, yeah, like I don't remember what we were talking about, but we just started. I think I told him like how I was getting more into cooking. I was into restaurants, but cooking more at home, starting to make croissants from scratch too for the first time, which is like a crazy thing for someone who doesn't have a lot of experience to do. Just a lot of work. They were pretty bad, I think, back then. But he was like, yeah, if you're like this interested, just you're welcome anytime to just come in and stage, which means just like basically work for free and do whatever. But for me, it was a good deal because, I was useless. I didn't have any skill. And so just to come in and be a part of that world, I think I thought about it for a little bit. I think at that point, I was thinking like, man, this isn't for me, because trying to make it as a composer or as a musician that way, like you kind of have to go into academia if you want to have a regular job. Like, of course, people compete like crazy for tenure positions, and you'll have like 200, 400 applicants for one job. And yeah, it just wasn't for me. Like I said before, being a student wasn't really like, just being at a desk. And obviously it's not just that, but at that point I was like, I gotta think about something else. And going for a walk with Kelly, my wife, she actually told me like, yeah, you should give this a shot. Like, what do you have to lose? Go spend some time in that kitchen, see if you like it. And she pushed me to like take him up on that. So I got in touch and I started going in for a full shift once a week. Just working for free, doing whatever they wanted. For the first few times, it was just peeling onions, peeling carrots, whatever, like 50-pound bags. Super slow at first. I didn't have my own knives, but they were super nice to me. And it was exciting to me because you were telling me like the Bear has brought it, into like kind of pop culture,
Right.
and people are like really fascinated with it now. And that was me back then. Like when I was getting into restaurants, I would love sitting at the bar and staring into an open kitchen. I was so like enamored with just like, damn, these people are so cool. This is their life. They make these beautiful things. They look at how fast they work. Look at, the magic they're making with the fire or with not, just making beautiful salads or desserts. All of it was just so beautiful to me.
Do you stop and think of like how much of maybe kind of the creativity bug from like kind of music side, like is it just an innate kind of ability to create? You think that is what drew you? That's what I'm hearing, but is it, maybe hit on that a bit more?
I think so. I think it's hard to remember. I don't know if back in the early days if I ever thought that far ahead, like, oh man, I want to be a chef and have my own restaurant and make dishes. I don't think I thought that far. I think I just wanted to do it, to learn how to do it, because it was so foreign to me.
Right.
Just watching guys sling out like 100 steaks a night and all that stuff, how fast they work, how they're able to cook each one to temp is so mesmerizing to me. Watching that happen, watching them do it in the heat and sweating and getting yelled at and all that stuff,
Everything you see on the shows. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see how there's like an allure to that.
That allure can also, it's also what drives other people. You give the example about peeling potatoes for 8 hours. It's also what drives people away. So I think he's leaning the same direction I'm at. I think I'm intrigued by what was attracting you beyond just surface value, right? Knowing the drudgery that was involved in that lifestyle.
Yeah.
But what kept you, what really got you to pursue it?
That's tough, man. It's funny because I used to be really good at taking taking notes for everything I learned. Because I think back then it was before I even knew I wanted to do this, because I didn't know if I could do this. I don't know if I had skill, or had what it took, or had even the perseverance. Because of course you see people drop like flies in this profession, especially when they're starting out. Like they think they want to be a chef, they go to culinary school, and then they actually work in a real restaurant, they get yelled at, they get whatever, and the second day, no call, no show. You never see them again. Mm-hmm. And you hear later maybe they just took they dropped careers completely or just took an easier job, corporate or working in a cafeteria. Nothing against that, of course, but like it's a different world than restaurants because there's so much more stressful. That's why the chefs are so stressed out, because it's just such a shitty business. Like if you waste, X amount of plates, then you don't make any fucking money for the night. And that's tough. That's why people are so angry.
Yeah. But that was kind of like the least of your concern then, right? Because what I'm hearing is that you were just intrigued by, like, just the idea of trying something new, and then, just like the scene of the kitchen and like being in the mix and contributing to it. That's what I'm hearing. Like, just can I do it? Let me just give it a try. Mm-hmm. And you stodged. Is that the right word? Yeah. Which in and of itself, some people could look at as drudgery, but then others it's part of just kind of making your bones, and there's something attractive to just being part of that team, I guess. I don't know.
Totally the team, and still being useful, because even though I got yelled at a lot, for not knowing anything, you could still be useful, even if especially if it's the line cooks coming up to me and be like, oh my god, in the middle of service, like, can you just run back to the walk-in and get me 4 quarts of veggie stock, or grab me some more, like steaks or whatever. Being an extra hand, even without any actual skill, you always need extra hands in the kitchen. You're basically always short-staffed if you're running a tight operation.
Yeah, that's like the calling card for like the business, though, right? Like you're always kind of short.
Yeah, totally.
Would it be fair to say you had a crush on the industry? Continue and pursue it until you fell in love with it?
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
That's just me being 46. I'm a philosophical 46.
So how long, how many different restaurants in Boston, I guess through grad school until you came back, did you work at?
Just 2. So that first one was called Cell de la Terre, and it's no longer open. But it was in the Back Bay as part of the Mandarin Oriental Hotel. So it could get really busy. I think a busy night was like between 200 and 300 covers. There's a big bar downstairs too. Some of the food was good, some of it was not amazing, but like, looking back, but to me at the time it was like, oh my god, everything just being made from scratch, everything, all the stocks made from scratch. It was just crazy to me, mesmerizing.
On that note then, so I guess while you're kind of learning the ins and outs and doing a lot of the heavy lifting, the grunt work, so to speak, how much exposure do you get from some of the sous chefs or even the chefs? Like how much interaction are you getting directly with them to then also, attempt to make your own courses, or like, what was that process like? Did they kind of take you did you have to pay your dues before you got to start making certain dishes? Like,
that never happened. That doesn't happen until much later. I mean, things might be a little different now. That's the way I would want to run a kitchen if I started one now, to be more collaborative. But back then, it's just like, it's kind of like, not having been in the military, it's kind of, I think a lot of people compare it to that. You're just a soldier. You just, you should shut the fuck up, do what you're told, and do it faster. And that's it. Right. So, definitely no making dishes when you're at the bottom of the totem pole like that.
Was that, how much of that, I was going to say cracking of the whip, but how much of that abuse still kind of fueled your drive to like, so how long did that go on for then, right? Like how long were you doing that for? 1 or 2 years?
At the restaurant? Or you mean like?
Out on the East Coast, out in Boston.
Yeah, it was like a year and a half. It was like a year and a half.
I was going to grab your glass and fill it up again.
That'd be great. Actually, I'll take whiskey.
Ooh, there we go. Switching it up.
Yeah, switch it up.
You know what? So what?
Yeah, and so that was a great restaurant, to as an intro, but I definitely have to mention the second one, which was really special to be a part of.
What was it? What's the name of it?
Striptease.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Steakhouse?
Good guess.
Steakhouse?
Yeah, close. It was a diner named after the strip steak sandwich.
Yeah. Exactly.
So the story.
Mine's going to a lot of different places.
Mine went to Steakhouse.
Huh?
Mine went to Steakhouse.
Yeah, okay, we all went to Steakhouse then.
Mine went somewhere else. So.
Went on a Skyer.
So, what about Striptease is memorable?
So that was 2012.
So awesome. Oh, never mind. Sorry.
Cheers to Striptease.
Cheers to Striptease. Rest in peace.
Mine went to Demi Moore.
Oh, wow.
Striptease, the movie.
Yeah, the crowd won't get that. Your dad buys it.
Will they not?
Your dad buys it.
I think the crowd. Ooh, wow. This is, it's been a while. Not too bad,
Is Striptease still in operation?
And closed probably like 6 or 7 years ago.
Pretty common.
Family establishment?
Yeah, so it'd been around for like 15 or 20 years maybe. And before I got there, the chef owner's son had been for a while in New York City making a name for himself, working all over the place, some of the best restaurants. And most recently, before coming over, was the chef de cuisine, or like, the chef running the show at Momofuku Sambar, like when it was like hot in New York City, Tim Maslow.
Okay.
And he kind of got burned.
If you guys didn't know,
That's
that's
a
a
good
big deal.
Good.
We need a little drop.
I don't know. Nowadays, though, the whole Dave Chang chili crunch thing, like,
Mm-hmm.
kind of fuck that guy, but whatever. But back then, hot shit.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he kind of got burned out and moved back home this was in Watertown, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Like 20 minutes outside of the city. Suburbs, quiet. And he just kind of helped his dad out with his diner. And his dad was kind of taking more and more of a step back, and he was taking over more, I think, because he just needed an outlet. He saw things that could be better and gradually started taking over more of the menu. They kept certain things on the menu still, like certain sandwiches for lunch, but he just kind of made it more and more his own, more quirky. Like we would have still comfort classics on the menu, like there was a great burger, like fried chicken, waffles, and stuff like that he made his own too. Like we would make the waffles to order. We would the burger was amazing too. Like what did it have? Preserved lemon aioli, smoked miso butter on the bottom. It was
Did you bring
insane.
any of that?
Not today.
Smoked miso butter.
The
Talking
miso,
now.
man, it would get smoked for like 3 or 4 hours till it was like black, and then it gets spun with butter.
And I heard you say we made, so by this time now you're getting your hands dirty, so to speak, and you're participating in making certain courses or meals.
Yeah, I mean, by that time I was a line cook. They hired me as a line cook,
Okay.
and I was so underqualified. Like, more screaming. You know, it was like being in a New York kitchen.
More yelling, more screaming.
More screaming.
a lot of it. I definitely earned a lot of it, but it was, you know, that was part of the culture back then, especially coming from New York.
Yeah.
Very intense, very like, you know.
Now.
Yeah, exactly. Fast. And because we were getting like popular too. It was cool to be part of something that was so new, even though I dreaded going to work every day for a while just because it's like, when am I going to fuck up today? You know, just.
And when you fucked up, they told you fucked up.
Yeah, right on the spot,
Yeah.
in your face.
Yeah.
It was tough, but yeah, just me and this other guy, Mike, was also very green. We just kept at it and got better and better. I lost touch with him, but I think he went on to be the chef at some other places too. To work for one of the guys who worked for Tim at the restaurant too.
Mhm.
So yeah.
So how did you decompress then? Like after the day was done or the night was done? Being yelled at
Cigarettes.
all day
or
long. Like yeah, what
whiskey.
would you do to?
A lot of whiskey.
A lot of whiskey, a lot of cigarettes.
Cigarettes. Thankfully, I never got sucked into that because obviously, like, substance abuse is pretty common for the industry.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I was kind of fine, just doing normal things.
Did you just
Netflix.
go home and just start cooking?
No.
Probably the last thing you want to do. Right?
Well, you know.
Yeah. No, those are longer days at striptease. A lot of overtime. Usually about 12-hour shifts. Start at noon, end around midnight or a little bit after.
Wow.
5 days a week, 6 days a week?
5 days,
5 days?
I think.
That's rough.
Sometimes 6 days, you know, depending on staffing.
And you're in grad school too at the same time.
Oh, no. This is all
this,
after.
So this is after grad school?
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys had still, you decided to stay out there for some time?
Yeah. So to back it up a little bit, just mostly during my second semester, my last semester of grad school, I was working for free at the French place for 2 shifts a week.
Okay.
And by that time, I had graduated to line cooking.
Got it.
As happens so much with the turnover, someone had called out or something, like, hey, we need someone to work cold side, work salads. You want to do it, Eric? I'm like,
Congrats, Eric. You're
yeah,
promoted today.
exactly. I still remember Chef Louis being like, this is your Super Bowl, man.
He said that?
Yeah.
Funny how they'll
It's your chance.
You made it, man. You're making salads today.
Yeah. But yeah, that was my introduction to all that. And yeah, I was there for about a year. They hired me for real after I graduated, like the week after, so it all worked out.
Nice.
That was rough, though. That was the first abuse, the first serious abuse after that was that Chef Louis who hired me, or I guess Chef Tom, sous chef.
Is that the first place?
First place, yeah.
Okay.
He left after about a month, and then this guy at the fine dining restaurant next door, Le Spalier, came over, one of the sous chefs, and he was a British guy, and if you don't already know, you probably do, very Gordon Ramsay, very, like, verbal abuse,
Yeah,
for sure,
cutthroat.
all the way. A lot of people quit. Yeah, cutthroat. Would brag about how in England they would go as far as to also physical abuse and be like, oh man, those are the glory days, But
You're lucky I'm not boxing your ears.
exactly, yeah.
I don't know what that was.
What was he
I don't
doing
know.
to the ears?
Boxing.
Boxing.
Boxing your ears? I don't know. I don't know where I went there. Anyhow, abuse.
Abuse, yeah.
Verbal abuse.
Yeah. Just getting stuff thrown at you. Not plates, not like that. That happened in other places, but like food maybe,
What
Bread that
does
was
Kelly, what does
toasted on
Kelly
it.
think when you come home and you tell these stories?
I don't remember. I think
That's a good question.
it's a great question, yeah.
It'd be cool to have her
'Cause
take.
I was definitely stressed out and unhappy during that time.
But also because she suggested, hey, you should give this a try, right? So then, like,
Yeah,
I can just imagine you coming home. Man, you know what happened today? Like,
They were boxing in my ears. Yeah.
nice.
Did it get to a point that you just wanted to stop?
Sort of. I don't know. I feel like it came just the idea of not wanting to give up came from running, maybe, you know, because that, like, I don't remember if I said, maybe we haven't talked about it yet on recording, but like, I was never the fastest runner at all. But of course, the beautiful thing about running is that even if you're on a team or if you're not, you know, you're always racing against yourself, right?
Yeah.
And even if you're not, you know, scoring points for the team, you can still like try to do better than last time, or just, you know, don't give up. Just finish the race, you know. So I think
Competing
that
against yourself.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to give up on myself. I didn't want to let this chef, you know, intimidate me, because I saw so many other people just wilt and wither, and again, like, no call, no show, not even come back for their knives or the last paycheck, you know, like these guys are like traumatized or something.
Yeah.
But, you know, and understandably so. But yeah, and I never had that much talent. I never had talent for cooking either. That's the other thing. It was all hard learned, hard fought, you know, but at least I stuck with it.
So it's sort of like you didn't want to quit, right?
Yeah,
Like
totally.
there was a
That's it.
let me not quit attitude. Like I can do this.
And I'm not gonna let you intimidate me into it. Oh, I remember one time, it was I don't remember, maybe I fucked something up, but I was reaching down in the fridge, and the chef was like letting me have it, and then he's like, "You fucking crying, Chow? You fucking cry." Okay, I didn't know I was gonna do the British accent, but it just came out because that's how. And then
Is that a tea?
of course I stood up and I looked at him. I stood up, I looked at him, and I was like, "No, I'm not fucking crying." And then he was like, "All right, good, you know." But he's like, "I'm not gonna let this asshole, you know, force me into, you know, being scared or whatever of him." Like, I didn't like, you know, my work life at the time, but I was gonna stick with it.
Did this have anything to do with it being an Asian kid from California? Do you think that played into making your life harder, or was it equally distributed?
What do you mean?
I mean,
Being in Boston.
yeah, being in Boston and, you know, trying to pursue a life in the restaurant business there.
Yeah.
I imagine it's a little bit different than what you would go through here.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, kitchens are still hard out here too. I guess it depends on just the caliber of restaurant or the culture that comes with it. I mean, yeah, sure, East Coast is definitely more known for, like, generally being less gonna sugarcoat things.
Yep.
I guess you hear about culture at places like Chez Panisse, and it's, you know,
Right.
relatively great. You know, people are polite, even supportive, you know, especially of like doing things outside of work and not just having cooking your whole life. But also, I don't know, it was a different time back then too. Yeah.
So was there a point at which, or when was the point at which you realized this is something that you could do, you know, as a career? Was it a singular moment, or was it, you know, over time you realized, all right, these fuckers aren't going to abuse me for much longer. Like, I can do this now. Like, how did that come about?
His breakout moment, you mean?
Yeah, if you would call it that. Was it a singular, or was it just over a period of time?
Probably over a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I didn't even do my first event until much later, after I was working like my 5th or 6th restaurant here in the city in San Francisco. Got connected to this new classical music group through, you know, old friends called Elevate, and they needed someone to be the chef for one of their concerts and do like small bites and stuff. And so someone got in touch with me, and that was the first time I ever like made a menu of things. So that was a good moment for me.
So when was this?
That would be in 2016 when I was working at a place called The Perennial.
Okay.
It's like an intersectionality of your passions, right?
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty dope, actually.
Yeah.
So that's when you graduated to creating your own
Mhm.
composition,
Yeah, sure.
as it were.
I like it. I like the stretch.
So backtrack from there, though. So then, when did you kind of transition and move back across coasts? What was that?
That was late 2012. Yeah, we just felt like we needed to be closer to our community, to family. There was not any great reason for us to be out there anymore, so yeah, just time to come home.
And did you have something lined up, like, I guess, working at a restaurant when you came out here, or when you came back home, or?
Neither of us did, but I didn't feel like, I mean, at the time, of course, I was still super green, but I had this confidence, because I got to a place from, being a total runt at striptease to being, after working the same station for 5 months, like being pretty decent at it, like learning how to cook meat to temp and just how to work a station in general. Yeah, I felt like I could at least hopefully get any entry-level job in some restaurant that I liked out here, so yeah.
So where was that when you came back out here? What was that process like? I guess what's it like as a free agent, like looking for a gig in the restaurant business? Speak to that.
Yeah, not too, if you kind of know what you're doing, not too hard, because everyone's always short-staffed for the most part. I guess maybe even more now since post-pandemic, but back then, pretty easy to find like 5-6 places that you might want to work at that are hiring at any given moment, so not too bad. Definitely trialed at some places where there was clearly like I was underqualified, but still a good experience to see, where I stood against certain places, and yeah.
Nice.
Let's go into this. That's a pretty good run. So Mission Bowling, Bar Tartine, the Perennial, Tartine Bakery. It's a pretty good run of places. How'd you, kind of on this vein, how'd you get in? How'd you move around?
Yeah, Mission Bowling Club was cool because, it's a bowling alley, like it sounds like. But the chef at the time had just come from this 2 Michelin-starred place called Kwa, which is no longer in existence. But Anthony Mint,
KOA? Qua?
COI. I think it's like an old French word or something.
Oh.
But Anthony Mint was the owner. He's the one who started like Mission Chinese food and the Perennial later on. Total visionary in terms of, he still does like zero food print. Kind of lost touch with him, but he's very much about building sustainable businesses, both for the staff and for the environment and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's focusing on the environment. One of the nicest guys I've ever worked for.
Nice.
Good dude. And he had a hand in Mission Bowling Club, where we served his Mission Burger, which is like the way it's ground. It's kind of from the idea of the British chef Hudson Blumenthal, where like you have this tube of meat and you slice it like as it comes out, so that you have these like meat tubes instead of getting all jumbled up and potentially less tender. Mm-hmm. So if you sear this like disc of meat, you can definitely Google this and you'll see a better visual representation than what I'm trying to say. But it creates a unique texture and retention of like the juices and stuff. At least that was the idea.
It maintains the tenderness and the flavor.
That started as a pop-up in the now defunct Duck Loy supermarket, RIP, classic place for people to go to in the Mission. But Mission Bowling Club is where we showcased the burger. Mm-hmm. And then my chef, Chris Kiuna, one of the greatest chefs I've worked for, created a really ambitious menu for a bowling alley, like around that. So, yeah. So that really appealed to me when I was applying.
That was your first gig back in the city then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How long and you were there for how long?
A little over a year.
Okay.
Yeah, Chris left about after 6 months, but because he and Anthony had been planning this new restaurant, the Perennial, which came later, which was going to be built completely on super sustainable environmental practices. But that took a while to open. So I followed him to that. But in the meanwhile, like always happens, restaurant openings get delayed, by 3 months and then 6 months and then a year, I think it had been delayed for a little over a year. So in the meanwhile, I worked at Bar Tartine because they were friends of Anthony's. Mm-hmm. And that was one of my favorite restaurants in the whole city. And I had a chance to work there and they knew that I was only going to maybe be there for a few months. But they were cool with it because it was 2014. Their cookbook had just come out. One of the best books out there.
Mhm.
I know I'm biased, but oh my god, just amazing. And they just needed extra hands, just through the cookbook season, through the fall, and the busy holidays. But it was kind of like with the delay of the restaurant opening, I would just stay on another 3 months, and then another 3 months, and then okay, we're gonna open for real. And then summer 2015, I spent some time in New York, staging at Blue Hill at Stone Barns, in upstate New York, and then I came back after a month. Like, oh, it's still delayed again. So I went back to Bar Tartine for like another 6 months.
Mhm.
So I ended up being there for like a year and a half.
Okay.
But that was great though, because that's still one of the best places I ever worked.
Okay, why?
So many reasons. Really, just the culture, the people. We never, I feel like we should have, in so many ways, but we never got like recognized for any fine dining for Michelin or anything. But just I had staged, before going to Bar Tartine at a number of other places around, some fancier, more well-known, or more like regarded places
Right.
or whatever. But all those weren't very interesting to me. Bar Tartine was the most interesting by far because they made everything from scratch. It was connected to Tartine Bakery, so at the time, Tartine bakers were still baking in the deck oven, fresh bread for the restaurant and for, just for pickup sale
Mhm.
right there. And the chefs over there, Nick Ball and Courtney Burns, were just doing the most interesting things. They had the most eclectic backgrounds. Like Courtney had kind of cooked a whole bunch of other places. Nick was Hungarian ethnically, grew up in the States, like in Michigan, but had spent most of his career cooking Japanese food.
Hmm.
And so all of these influences went into everything we made. We fermented everything, and just for pickle plates and for like sandwiches for lunch.
Oh, wow.
There was always like huge containers of sauerkraut and radishes and every vegetable you could think of. We dehydrated and ground all of our own spices, like onion powders and all kinds of other things. Every vegetable, again, zucchini, sunchokes, you name it. Courtney was the brains behind making a lot of our cheese, and like koji and amazake and yogurt, all this shit. It was crazy to be seeing this all firsthand. They had something so unique, and you can see it all in the cookbook. Plugging their cookbook again, it's just one of the most amazing things you can get out there. And that was so interesting to me because that's what cuisine is, right? That's what true creativity is.
Blank slate.
I guess so. Like, it's something I need to remember myself for what I'm doing now. I still look to that book and to Courtney's books for so much inspiration, because she's written a few of her own since. Yeah, shout out to her books, Nourish Me Home and the Preserved series, that are still coming out. Because, there are a lot of amazing restaurants still that are in the Chez Panisse vein. Like, cook very seasonally with the amazing produce we have out here in California. But a lot of it is just a variation on like California Italian or Mediterranean-ish. Nothing wrong with that. It's great. It's beautiful.
A new take on it.
It's simple.
Certain style.
But then you look at whatever list of hot restaurants, and it's like, these are kind of like the same, like, again, like, they're great, nothing against them, but they're not necessarily unique or super creative the way that Nick and Courtney were being. Because when you create your own larder, larder is cuisine. That's what they kind of drilled into us. All the things you made, all the inspiration they took from old world techniques, because we don't need to preserve stuff to get through the winters anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We have refrigeration, we have all that stuff, but fermenting things, salting things, dehydrating, drying things, like we had like a fleet of like 6 industrial dehydrators that were always running.
Oh, wow.
Drying out vegetables, fruits, syrups, jams, meats. It was great.
So it sounds like also this was like your introduction to kind of, I was going to say like new technology processes, but old technology processes, but traditional, right?
Yeah. But through a modern lens, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And the cool thing is that this kind of cooking, as far as we could tell, attracted such a cool kind of person who either wanted to work there or who wanted to stage there. Because we had a lot of stages coming from all over the world. Met some really cool people from Europe, from Australia, from all over the country, from Mexico, just to think about the people that I met there. Who the right kind of, when I say the right kind of person, I mean someone who is not that stereotypical like ego chef, like look at me, I'm gonna work at the fanciest places and yell the most and be the biggest asshole, biggest ego in the kitchen.
What we associate when we think of like chefs on like based on what TV
Yeah,
shows. Right?
yeah. Like I never worked in any of those kitchens, but I kind of got a taste from staging in some. And it's funny because I admire a lot about certain fine dining chefs and kitchens, obviously like certain techniques and dishes and stuff like that, but the culture always rubbed me the wrong way. Like I just never thrived in that, because I got yelled at plenty, and it just, some people thrive on that a little bit, or that pushes them,
People
but
need the abuse.
for me it just kind of shut me down. It was like, I don't want to be here, kind of feeling.